In a world full of distractions, there is one big question on every dog owner's lips.
How do I become more than just the person holding the other end of the leash?
We all get dogs with a dream in mind, a vision of the future. And if right now your everyday reality isn't quite that picture you had in mind, you are in the right place.
It really doesn't have to be this way.
You absolutely can and will be more to your dog than just the person who gets in between them and the world.
The key is you need to be more sexy.
More sexy than the neighbourhood cat.
More sexy than the jogger in the park.
More sexy than that half-eaten hamburger they just found on the floor.
And yes, even more sexy than the dog across the road.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Lauren. Together we're Absolute Dogs. And you're listening to the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast.
Welcome to this episode of the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast, the Absolute Dogs podcast that teaches you how to be the very best dog owner your dog could ever wish for.
Now, if we've learned anything over the past year, I think the number one thing that we're all a bit more aware of, or we're all a bit more conscious of, is health. Yeah. And actually, when I think about health and I look at my dogs, I know that I want to be the very best owner for them, as I know that you do. Being that we can actually have a really important, impact on our dog's health. And actually, this is something we can really get a handle on. So today,
we're talking health. And this can't be underestimated how important this is. One of the questions that I get asked so much from in my vet role, as a vet, when I've got my vet hat on and my vet coat on and my vet stethoscope on, and I'm being a vet.
Fully clothed, I think Tom is saying. I think he knows that this is important.
Well, I was digging a hole there. What I really commonly get asked about is quality of life. And first of all, how we can impact quality of life and how we can measure quality of life and think about quality of life.
And I suppose for me, one of the things that always crops up in my sort of mind is, how does quality of life maybe impact quantity of life? Yeah. And actually, do they go hand in hand? And are there things that I can do differently or potentially better? And so this is something that I personally am always considering. And it's something that I think the world is really waking up to. Yeah. So that actually we can be even better dog owners.
Because really there are two routes to impacting your dog's quality of life and their overall general wellness. The first is what we like to think of as the outside in, reshaping their brain, growing them to really kind of be adapted to the world that they find themselves in, so that they have minimal stress, minimal anxiety, they're making great choices. But secondly, and it's one that we don't talk about enough, and we're going to talk about more and more and more because it's so important, is supporting them from the inside out. And that comes from a different world. That comes from the nutrition world rather than the training and behavior world. And yet the two go hand in hand. And if, for example, you've got a reactive dog and you think that your main goal right now is to create a bomb-proof dog from a reactive dog to transform their behavior struggles, you absolutely need to consider the two angles of approach. You can't just work on the outside in, you have to work on the inside out. And the reason why that is, and we'll just dive into this very, very briefly to just give you an idea of the impact this has on a dog.
Tom loves this. You can just see his eyes light up. He
I love
is
this
like,
topic.
Oh.
The gut microbiome and your dog's gut wellness. So the microbiome is effectively that community of microorganisms that live inside the digestive tract of each and every one of your dogs. They have an impact on your dog's brain. They have an impact on your dog's behavior. And equally, your dog's behavior and your dog's brain has an impact on those little guys in their digestive tract.
And I think what you're saying is that actually they have an impact all round. It's
a vicious cycle. So what you get is a dog who is reacting to the environment. Their bucket's quite full, as we would say. That has a detrimental effect on their gut microbiome. That then has a detrimental effect on their behavior and their brain. And so dogs often enter this vicious cycle of worsening behavior. Now, there was a study done, I think it's in 2006, I want to say, and it was by a group of researchers where they took two populations of humans. They took a group of humans that were feeling great about the world. They were experiencing positive emotional states every day, and they were lovely and calm. Now, the second group, they were experiencing negative emotional states on a day-to-day basis. They were describing feelings of depression, anxiety, and just really feeling of low mood. Now, what they did is they took the microbiome, the microorganisms from the digestive tracts of those two groups of humans, and that was through feces, which is quite gross. But anyway,
Tom needed to add that for all of you.
Just to clarify, no humans were harmed. And what happened is they then took that kind of two groups of microbiome, and they implanted that microbiome into two groups of rats. Now, the rats that received
He said rats, not brats.
Rats, to clarify. The rats that received the microbiome from the humans experiencing low mood, negative emotional states, and depression, those rats, just from that change alone of changing their microbiome to the same one, they started to show behaviors associated with those emotions.
Which, that is insane. You can't even think how...
It's mad, right?
It feels like too crazy, right?
They started to become worried about open spaces. They started to become worried about novelty. They started to become less sociable.
Worried about things they had not been worried about before.
The day before, literally. And yet the rats that received let's call it the happy microbiome, they continued to be the happy little rats that they always were. And so it makes you realise that...
And just to clarify, guys, this is not an experiment that Tom has done. He's not been part of it. He's literally referencing research.
Absolutely. And so the crazy thing is that this shows that this research, it crosses species. It shows that, it really implies and suggests that this is impacting dogs. And from a vet perspective, and a behavior perspective, I see dogs every day that are reactive to the world, and they maybe bark and lunge at other dogs, and they also have changes in their digestive output. So to put it bluntly, they have softer poos. They often struggle with diarrhea. And so we see this.
And you might have seen this even in your own dog. So you might have acknowledged this. You might have observed this.
Yeah.
And actually, this is something to be aware of, and actually to be observing and to be vigilant for, to, again, be the best owner you can be for your dog. So I suppose, what can we do about it?
Absolutely. And just to clarify, that was just one example of the impact of your dog's general wellness and their behavior, and how their behavior impacts their wellness. We could go through similar examples for
many.
Yeah, absolutely. The system of muscles and bones and joints that are within your dog, the skin system, right? Their skin and coat. We could talk about dental disease and how that impacts their behavior and overall wellness as well. So this is big. So what we wanted to do is we want to talk to you about actually how we can take control of this as dog owners. Yeah, often people will try and disempower us in this area and say, you know what, you can't, as an owner, you can't do anything to change that. But the reality is there are two approaches, as we've said. We can do the outside in through games, or we can do the inside out, and that's through the world of nutrition. Now, a bit of background. As you know, or you might have heard us talk about before, every dog has a bucket. This bucket, it gets
Carry it
filled,
on the backs.
Yeah, literally carrying it around.
Bucket.
Day by day, and this bucket gets filled by different things. The first thing that fills this bucket is excitement, right? So, I don't know.
I do agility with my dogs. I love doing agility. I find it amazing sort of energy and good fun. And at the same time, what I realised after doing many years of competitions was actually it probably wasn't good for me to stay at the competition, because that excitement day in, day out, especially when we go for long events, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 day events, actually the excitement is too much. But even just one session can fill the bucket for some dogs, especially the dogs like Classic, my mini American Shepherd, who's actually got a very small bucket, maybe more like a thumb size.
Yeah, egg cup.
Literally, probably smaller. Let's think of one of those things they do sewing with. I can't think of its name. But one of those things.
Thimble.
That one. That's the one. Thimble. It escaped me. And so, for me, I think actually realising and recognising that even if I'm doing something fun for my dog, taking them to dog training class, doing some agility, letting them play zoomies with another dog in the park, all of those fun things can still be bucket filling.
Yeah, absolutely. The next group of things that can fill your dog's bucket is scary events. So, for example, I don't know, your dog hears a firework and they worry about that. It's a pint of water into the bucket.
It could be something as simple as someone surprising them, or something that happens with people going about the house and I don't know, dropping something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be extreme. I think that's the big thing to acknowledge. It's your dog. Your dog is driving that. You can watch your dog.
And those of you with multi-dog households, one of your dogs might be barking out the window. That could be filling the bucket of your other dogs because they're hearing the barking, and so on.
And also, you could have a dog in a certain house who actually is constantly I don't know how to put it, kind of generally being very present with all the other dogs. That can also really hugely like either excite or worry them. So that there's those that also count in multi-dog households.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. They're the things that we tend to talk about when it comes to buckets, and that bucket filling and filling and filling till at some point it overflows and you get a reactivity episode. And those of you with naughty but nice dogs, you'll be very, very familiar with barking, lunging, and just, that look of the lights are on but no one's home. But the thing is, there are other things that fill that bucket, and they come from the world of wellness. So the next thing that fills the bucket that you might have heard of is pain or soreness. So if your dog has joint soreness or stiffness, especially as they get older, that's going to mean that on average they have a much more full bucket and they can't accept as many positive and negative stresses.
Many people see when a dog starts to be in pain or has pain and they didn't have pain before, they see behavioural changes that go alongside that because that dog has never experienced that before. But just think of yourself, you will have behavioural changes when you're in pain.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. In fact, just thinking back to a behaviour consult recently, there were just about 5 different things that were said, and I thought, I think this dog, based on how this dog is moving, based on how this dog is behaving, they have hip disease, they have hip dysplasia. And so I said to the owner, I really think it would be beneficial to get their hips x-rayed, and the owner got their hips x-rayed, and lo and behold, there it was. There was hip disease happening right there. And the cool thing is, and it's cool because we identified that dog had that, and we can support them now from the outside in and the inside out. But the cool thing was it was such a snapshot demonstration of how linked these systems are, behavior through the bucket, right? So the next thing that pays into the bucket is itchiness. So when your dog's more itchy, their bucket will be more full. Now that might be because of seasonal allergies. That might be because a parasitic, or like they have fleas maybe. You've probably seen on YouTube cats versus cucumbers. I truly believe that all of those cats probably had fleas to be so worried about novelty when seeing those cucumbers.
So funny. That is such a funny one. And I think that if you've ever had a dog with sort of a persevering sort of itch or scratch, it's not comfortable. No. Like, it's not comfortable for you as the owner, let alone the dog as well. It's bucket filling for you as an owner, let alone the dog who's actually experiencing it.
Absolutely. The next kind of group of things that pay into that bucket would be the digestive tract. Okay, so gut challenges, gut struggles, gut kind of impacted gut wellness, and again, these fill the bucket, and it's very difficult to kind of untangle. Is it because is the bucket full because of behavior, because your dog's behaving, maybe they're very, very reactive and that's causing the gut struggles, or actually is it the other way around? And that's why it's so useful to think about this bucket, because what we can think about is all the different ways that we can control the controllable and impact these things for the better. The final area, and we could talk all day about this next area, and maybe we'll save it for an episode in the future.
Tom's excited.
Is dental wellness. So the crazy thing is that your dog's bad breath, dirty teeth, absolutely pays into the bucket and impacts that.
It's one of those things that, there are so many dogs out there with bad teeth. Yeah. There are so many dogs out there having a lot of dental work. There are so many dogs out there who are in pain because of their teeth and have different forms of gum disease and dental sort of problems. Yeah. And actually, this is a kindness or something we can really impact quite easily, quite low key really, and make a huge difference, and not ever allow our dogs to get into that position. I do feel really passionately about that.
Absolutely. And there is a way that we can support them, a way that we can support their natural processes, which in turn is going to really empty their buckets. And when we think about what quality of life is, really quality of life is how full is their bucket on a regular basis? And that in turn impacts quantity of life, because, if the bucket's full all the time, that's going to cause, accelerated aging of all those natural processes. And so if we can support the natural processes from the inside out and support them from a behavior perspective from the outside in, we really are controlling the controllable and doing everything that we can to support them.
And I think that's got to be the line that we all take. Are we doing everything we can do to support them? We love them. We want to give them the best days. We want to give them the best life. Seeing my dogs happy makes me happy. Yeah. You know what? Am I doing my best?
Absolutely. And the thing is, when we talk about supporting from the inside out, this is not talked about enough. And we've got an exciting announcement about it in just a couple of minutes. How actually adding ingredients to your dog's diet, adding superfoods to your dog's diet, they really are superfoods that super support your dog's natural processes.
Super support, super boost, and actually very, very easy to do, and something that both Tom and I feel really passionately about. Actually, it kind of wakes you up. We feel awakened to actually what so many other people can do, and that you guys get the opportunity to do what we do on a daily basis too.
Absolutely. And I'll give you a quick example. I could talk all day about the various superfoods that you could be feeding your dogs, but a quick example that you're going to love: kelp. Kelp has a bacteria on it that when it hits your dog's saliva, this bacteria actually produces something, an enzyme that breaks down plaque on your dog's teeth. Now, if you think about that, why do we not know about this more? And also, if you think about kelp as being a superfood, it's one of the most antioxidant-rich superfoods out there, and yet again, it's not really talked about. Now, based on your dog and the way that you're wanting to support them, based on their age group, there's going to be changes on what we'd recommend in terms of, how you can best support them.
It's more bespoke than general. It's more niche and for you, not just like one size fits all. And I think this is really a step up in what's available.
Yeah. And so we've created something very, very special. And what we've created is effectively a way that you can find out what ingredients your dog would benefit from in terms of supporting them.
What is your dog's bespoke supplement sort of superfood that actually is going to support them best? What is the one that actually what is the line that you need to go down? Because actually I think this is really important. A lot of people don't know, and we all want to help our dogs. We all want to serve our dogs. We all want our dogs to have longevity and actually quality and quantity of life. Like for me, those two go together. Yeah. And I think the biggest frustration for a lot of dog owners, myself included up to recently in the last few years, saying, look, what can we do? Because there's so many things out there and we don't know what's right.
Absolutely. And so we've created something very cool, and that is effectively a formulator, a quiz that you can do, a few simple questions where we find out about the age of your dog, we find out about how you want to support your dog, we find out about, your dog's behavior, and what that formulator then does is suggests the ingredients that your dog would have in their diet to support them in the areas that you want to support them. Now, that quiz you can access now, and all you've got to do is go to a-ok9.com/quiz. That's a-ok9.com/quiz, or you can head to the AOK9 website at a-ok9.com, and you will see a place where you can do that quiz and find out what are the ingredients that are really going to support your dog based on what you want.
What's going to help my individual dog? And I think that's what so many of us want. What do we do for our individual dogs? So health, we're passionate about it.
We are. We're really passionate about it, and we're really passionate about, instead of disempowering you when the world is trying to tell you that things are difficult, things are unresolvable, dogs are untrainable, actually, there's a lot that you can do. There's a lot that you can support your dog in, and you're listening to this, and we know that, therefore, you are the very best dog owner.
You can be a yay-sayer instead of a naysayer, because there's one thing for sure, there are way too many naysayers already. So you know what? You can be one of those people that says, yes, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. I'm empowering myself. I'm facilitating myself and my dog. Quality and quantity of life is possible. This bespoke ingredient list for me and my dog is going to make a difference.
Absolutely. And all you've got to do to get involved in it is go to a-ok9.com/quiz. It's completely free and we'll tell you about the ingredients and how they work and how they will support your dog. So with that, guys, that was a bit of a mammoth episode. We'd love to cover this more. We could go on about it for days. We'll cover more in future episodes. That was this episode of the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast. We will see you next week. And remember, stay sexy. Hey, before you go, have you taken part in the worldwide Sexier Than a Squirrel challenge?
It's a 25-day online video program, huge energy, amazing community, and over 6,000 people are already taking part.
The only question is, you know where you are today. Where do you want to be 25 days from now? Head to absolutedogs.me/sexy.